Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Update Show. I'm your host, Trae Holiday, and we have to get into some news updates today. If any of you heard, there was some shootings and the community experienced some deaths. I'm going to throw it over to my guy, Big O. We do have some clips to get into regarding this, and just sending some condolences to the family. Just learned that it was an extension of my family. So shout out to you, Adi, Cuddy. I love you. I'll definitely be reaching out to family today. This is a heavy day. Oh.
Yeah, and sending our condolences here, everybody here on the set. I mean, you just really got this news, I think, connected the dots just a few minutes before walking on set. I'm kind of surprised you're here. But, we're just going to take the show today the way that it goes. Definitely, sending out our condolences and right there on Cherry Street, right? And Cherry Street in the Central District, man, is there's a lot of tragedies that have taken place there over the years. You can put that clip up, the screenshot there. This is from CapitolHillSeattle.com. Just talked about the shooting right there at that AM PM, and on Cherry. I've lost so many people. Even Tyrone Love years ago, still an unsolved crime, unsolved murder. And a bigger conversation, especially with this discussion around the valuing of black lives, that, right there on Cherry, there's a black man murdered. On Aurora Avenue last night, was a black man murdered. In Pioneer Square over the weekend, it was a black man murdered, and I believe in Skyway last night as well. So, what I'm saying, we want to make sure that this discussion, and especially what's happening right here in our city, in the Emerald City, and even beyond in the general metro area, that as this discussion around the value of black lives continues, is that it's not only just out of our community, but also in our community.
Yeah, our community is heavily affected by this violence, and I talked to my brother about this just last night. Before we heard about any deaths, I literally was saying to him, look, man, at the end of the day, there's a lot of effort being done to really educate our community and get our community on board with, what does it look like to be in the new normal? And, young folks killing other young folks is what I want to consider old normal stuff. And so I asked him straight up, man, how do we, get this messaging to the young people who are wrapped up in this violence? They're steeped in it. How do we get this messaging to them? Because I feel that this is so important. Everything that is being done, all of these bricks that are being laid on the ground are really to educate and inform our community and change things. We don't want to continue to see this wrath of violence that affects families and brings so much grief, to our communities. And I think it's really important that we begin, those of us who are really doing this work, we really begin to bridge the gaps and bring these messages to the young people so that they can understand it's not about fighting each other. It's not about fighting each other. We need to attack this system. Your anger and everything that you're feeling, whether you think, oh, it's this person, it's this family, it's this thing, it's actually larger. And we can show them that. We can show them the way that society has literally built a system that is perpetuating this violence. So maybe they can begin to say, oh, wait a minute, I'm just playing into what they built. I'm just playing into that. And maybe they can begin to wake up and stop the violence, man.
Well, well before protest season, when we were still at Studio B, we talked about, and actually Willard Jemerson joined us that day, and we talked about, in our community here, in the Central District, the black community, that, youth gun violence is now generational. And I talked about when I was a student at Garfield High School, the murder of June Walker and Merrick Murray. And then, a generation later, my son impacted by the murder of Connor Dassa Holland, out on Rainier Beach. And it's like, damn, what I'm saying? Like, we're failing. We're failing. That if 30 years ago, actually, what I'm saying? And it's crazy to think about it like that. I remember when June Walker, we went to school that next day, Garfield High School, And they were like, man, you know what I'm saying? It was a horrible incident that went down, and a big loss of life and everything. But being young, and then like I said, here we are a generation later. You know what I'm saying? Where the violence and gun violence in young people is still is impacting. And it's like, man, we have to do better.
Absolutely. And one of the things that, I've really experienced, I'm the oldest of 4 children, and my brothers are younger than me by 5 and 7 years, and they have just experienced so much death in their peer groups, literally, just one friend after another, to the point where, that whole, hey, I'm desensitized by it, hey, I just gotta, I gotta deal with the flow. Let me get my, my bro on my shirt, and let me, you know what I'm saying, rep my bro, you know what I mean? That in that kind of regard. And so much of it has been literally generation after generation. I feel that they became more and more desensitized, honestly, to the violence because they experienced it and dealt with it so much. And it was so, you mentioned Tyrone Love. Tyrone Love and I were tight ever since we were about 11 years old, and we grew up together, you know what I'm saying? And honestly, that was such a heavy blow for me when Tyrone Love was murdered and when my boy Tyree was murdered. Like, right there, those two were two that I experienced personally, but I feel like my brother, who's 7 years younger than me, has experienced that tenfold. I got 2 that I think of, oh my God, they were my guys. And my brother has, I don't even know how many, probably more than 10.
The thing is, when we talk to people, and I think that this is, we need to definitely make our platform malleable. This is something that we need to address. We addressed it a few months ago, but I think that we need to really put our resources in play and get that discussion back out there. Because when you talk to people, when you talk to even people like a Coach Dom or a Willard Jimerson or a Sean Good, or Choose 1A, I mean, these guys actually keep count. You know what I'm saying? And they can tell you every person who's died, gun violence, youth violence, you know what I'm saying, black on black crime, this and that. They keep that count. And man, it'll be interesting to talk to these guys, because you know what? We can't, like I said, with this national and international discussion going on about the value of black lives, we can't sit here and ignore what's happening in the Central District, the South End, Skyway, and everywhere else. We're going to take a break right now, gather ourselves, and we come back, we'll have the rest of the day's headlines. You're watching the Morning Update Show. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. Man, Trae had to leave. You know what I'm saying? As you could imagine, hearing the news that one of the people murdered last night was as a relative. I mean, I was kind of surprised that she was able to start the show. I think that it was important for her, though, in the intro there, to be able to communicate. Unfortunately, on this very show right here, that's but because it's a community show, and our roots are in the community, there's been quite a few mornings here on the morning show that you bring a lot of tragedy directly into the studio. But we're gonna move forward. And I appreciate your patience and understanding and goodwill, and feel free in there to comment in the comments to make sure and give Trae some love and support. Definitely could appreciate it right now. First thing up, what we have here, Oya? Okay, so cool. So here's the thing is, right, when we talk about our platform and we talk about everything that's going on here, we always try to use the platform to start the conversation, keep the conversation going. Last week we had Michael Solon from SPOG on here, and he made some comments about Charleena Lyles and the death of Charleena Lyles. Then yesterday, we had Katrina Johnson, who is the cousin and spokesperson for Charleena Lyles' family. And yesterday, in that conversation with Katrina Johnson, Dow Constantine, who's the King County executive, his name came up in the conversation, and basically saying that the inquest process has stopped. So there's a lot of families and everybody else out there who are trying to get a final resolution around police shootings, but the inquest process has stopped. And so when we said here on the show, it's like, man, we want to talk to Dow Constantine. If his office is where the logjam is at, then, you know what I'm saying, we wanted to talk to him. So Dow Constantine reached out yesterday, and this, I want to be able to connect the dots to you guys, and this is why we appreciate your support. And I can be honest with you, one of the reasons why Dow Constantine reached out to us in his office is, one, because of your support, but two, the biggest thing is you guys are actually vote. You see what I'm saying? If it wasn't for the fact that you guys who watch this show, whether you lean left, right, or independent, weren't active citizens going to the polls, then you wouldn't get instant feedback from somebody like a King County executive, right? So I just want to commend all of our viewers out there for you being, active citizens, for you guys being stakeholders and everything else. And the public officials realize that those of you who support and watch this show are active, and this is the way it works. So we went from Solon to Katrina Johnson and now to Dow Constantine. Can you put that clip up? So, let me find it right here. Sorry, I didn't have it together on my side. 1 second. So this is what the King County executive said last night. I understand that one of your guests led you to believe that I was holding up, the new inquest process. That's false. With many family members of those who died at the hands of the state, I created the new inquest process and signed it into law by executive order. A number of governments and police agencies sued to stop it, and we're fighting them in court. Seattle City Attorney Pete Holmes dropped their suit, but many others remain. I continually appeal to the public for help in getting these agencies out of the way, that we can move forward with the inquest and get to the truth. And that's from Dow Constantine. So you keep that on the screen there for a second. You can keep it up there. Sorry. The thing is that, again, this is why it's important. This is why these conversations are important, and this is why it's important that I'm not so polarized, even through my life experiences, not to be able to have conversations. Because, see, now these conversations lead to them. Now, here's the county executive. County executive is putting back on you, the citizens. You know what I'm saying? The county executive is saying, like, hey, he's trying to get the inquest going. He's put it back on the people. And so if it's in the people's hands, that means it's in your hands. I think do we have a clip as well, Oya? So we're gonna load up a clip here. There's a clip that we have of Dow Constantine speaking at an event, I think earlier this month, or might have been last month. Go ahead.
Honey, America is on the right side of history. But it is not going to happen by itself. It is going to require sustained effort, staying in the streets, yes, but also insisting on concrete actions across the board and across this country. We cannot lose this moment. Because lofty words and very sincere protests will not deliver the kind of change this nation needs. I want to tell you about something very specific, very concrete that we worked so hard on with the families of those who have died at the hands of the government. With the family of Tommy Lay, say his name. Tommy Lay. With the family of Charleena Lyles, say her name. With the family of John T. Williams, say his name. John T. Williams. With the family of Trae Taylor, say his name. Trae Taylor. We worked to create an inquest process that would allow us not just only to find out what happened, where the bullet came from, what was going on at that moment, but also what went wrong in the training, in the methods that were used that can be fixed so we stop the killing and don't have these tragedies anymore. And yet the tragedies persist. In Tacoma, Manuel Ellis, say his name. Say his name. But the cities sued us, and the city said, you cannot continue. You cannot continue with this inquest process because we do not want to get to the truth. I need your help to tell the cities across this county to dismiss those suits and let us get to the truth. Will you help me with that?
All right, that's King County Executive Dow Constantine, and that was from last month in West Seattle. Looks like at one of the rallies or protests there in West Seattle. Looks like he's made his position clear on that. I think that for the inquest is around police shootings. I mean, no matter if you, like I said yesterday, if you're back in the blue, or if you're ready to defund 100%, any process that gets at the truth of issues or matters that occur, I think are very important to follow up. So that's what it is from Executive Constantine. I invited him to come on the show. He ain't hit me back because I think it's also important. You know, the health department lies up there in King County. So I invited the executive to come on and talk about what's going on in the county as far as COVID. Wanted to talk to him about the whole issue around, protest season, what the county is doing and what's happening there, and also about the inquest. So this is what I'm saying, Executive Constantine. I'm giving you a 3-fer, man. You know what I'm saying? Maybe even a 4-fer. You can talk about property tax, all kinds of other stuff that's going on. We'd love to have you on the show and talk about everything King County. So, all right, moving on. Yesterday, Mike Solon, who was on air here last week, who's the president of Seattle Police Officers Guild, he was on the Dory Monson show. And Dory, man, is a very popular show. It's more conservative talk radio. If people haven't heard, Dory, was that 770? 770 KTTH. So Solon was on there yesterday. And in the clip that we're going to play here, he's talking about, he's kind of inferring that he'd want to see the federal troops come in here to Seattle. And he was talking about previously, before the clip, was the 12 officers that SPD says was injured on Sunday. So that was the lead in to the conversation. And here's the clip right here of Mike Solon on the Dory Monson show.
I need leadership from this city to step up. And Dory, maybe this is the opportunity where we're seeing the success of what's going on in Portland as far as the law enforcement ability to hold these criminals accountable by arresting them. And you saw the success that the federal officers had when they moved into Portland. Perhaps this is a time now in Seattle where we might need some federal intervention here.
All right, so that was Mike Solon right there, and that prompted a response. Let me what's up. So basically, in the police union doesn't necessarily, as we keep seeing now, the police union doesn't speak for the Seattle Police Department. And I'm sure we'll probably hear from them as well as far as what their thoughts are. But the city council, Lisa Herbold, last night, you know what I'm saying, here's the clap back. You can go ahead and put that up on the screen. Huh? Oh, okay, now you can put it up. Oh, I can't see it. Okay, I can only see myself, so I didn't know if it was up because I'm still seeing myself in the monitor. So let's go over the letter then. This is awkward. I'm used to reading it off the screen, so just bear with me 1 second. All right, so what Lisa Herbold wrote yesterday, I just got some excerpts of it here in the top part, is Dear President Solon, we're writing you today with alarm and concern about this weekend's events in Portland, the arrival of federal law enforcement to address local protests and usurp the authority of local law enforcement to address the public safety impacts of the protests. It is our sincere hope that you have neither met with federal law enforcement nor collaborated with federal law enforcement regarding recent protests in Seattle. We ask you to confirm in writing that you've done neither. So first of all, they're like, man, have you been, this is crazy, because they're like, man, have you been talking to the feds? But I mean, that's what she's saying in the letter. She's like, man, have you been talking to the feds? Are you collaborating with the feds? We want to know either way in writing. And so this is how, like, it's all topsy-turvy right now. You know what I'm saying? You got the city council, like, you know, are you a collaborator with the feds? So then they go on to list some stuff here, the city council resolutions, what the mayor said, yada. It's up on you can go to Seattle Police, the city council website, or Lisa Herbold's website. So it lists a lot of stuff here. And then near the end of the email that was sent, says, as the mayor's letter states, because they list the mayor's letter in here, the majority of the protests have been peaceful and aimed at improving our communities. Where this is not the case, it still does not justify the use of federal forces. Unilaterally deploying these paramilitary type forces into our cities is wholly inconsistent with our system of democracy and our most basic values. Not only is unilateral deployment of federal force unjustified, as SPOG president, we hope you recognize that you are not authorized to invite the presence of these forces to Seattle, nor to collaborate with them. We emphasize with much urgency as we can muster that you not replicate the reported actions of Portland Police Association President Daryl Turner. We look forward to receiving your response. And that was Lisa Herbold. Basically, she's the chair of public safety, and Council President Gonzalez. Whew, that was a lot right there. But yeah, so, you know, I mean, Solon's like, hey, might be a good idea to bring the feds in. And he talked about how, you know, the feds are having success down in Portland. And then you've got Councilmember Herbold, who came right back, and this letter came out later in the day, because I don't think that Dory's show's in the afternoon. It's Cairo too. Yeah, you know, I don't want to. It's the same group though. I think Cairo and KTTH are in the same group, so it's Cairo. Right? Don't want to get it wrong with Dory. Dory's on Cairo. But yeah, so this letter came out, and it's like, man, you know, Lisa Herbold, the city, you know, they're following up. And so, I mean, it's an interesting thing, because that's what the conversation, at least on the street level, has been. Is like, man, you know, are the feds coming in, or are they not coming in, and everything else. And that's that story there. And so we'll see. They're asking the city council, at least Herbold, and Council President Gonzalez is asking Mike Solon to, in writing, either confirm or deny if he is speaking with the feds and collaborating with them. So we'll follow up with Councilmember Herbold's office to see if she received something in writing. Yeah, we'll give him a call. And then one other thing, man, there's too much police news in here, man. One other thing is, we'll put this clip up. This is out of our partner, the South Seattle Emerald. And it says some SPD officers appear to have violated election law by registering precincts as voting addresses. My friend. So this one right here, like I said, out of the Emerald, there's at least, 6 officers right now? At least 6 officers. Solon is actually one of the officers that's listed in this article. And basically what they're saying is it meant voter fraud, as officers registered their actual voting address as in the precinct that they work, as opposed to where they live. And some of the officers don't live in the municipality of Seattle. So, I mean, you can see how clearly that can lead to issues all over the place. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to follow this story. We actually got the Emerald. They come on every Friday. Marcus comes on every Friday. But I think that this is a very big developing story right now. So we'll see if we can get Marcus on tomorrow. Maybe we can get Marcus in the co-host tomorrow. We're going to take a short break right now. Appreciate everybody's patience. Our format was kind of out of place this morning with Trae getting the news that one of the people murdered last night in the city of Seattle was a relative. Stick with us. We're going to take a break. You're watching the Morning Update Show. So welcome back to the Morning Update Show. Also want to say hello to all the people that are now watching us across our Twitter at Where We Converge, Twitter at Where We Converge. Appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? You guys have been asking for a long time for us to be able to stream other places but Facebook. And also people joining us on our YouTube channel, the ConvergeMedia channel. And for other people, sometimes people like to share the show, but the person they're sharing it with isn't on Facebook and things like that. You can go to our YouTube channel because every show we do it live and then it's there. You can share the link with friends and family and all that good stuff. And what these guys are telling me as well is that next week or even later on this week, will actually be on our website as well. So you don't even have to be. Okay, we're on Twitch too. Oh, okay. So I guess we're on Twitch as well. So these guys stay working. We'll also be on our website. So if you're just not a social media person at all, but you enjoy our show and so you're following on social media, you'll be able to follow on our website. So that is that. And keeping on with the news here, yesterday was a protest and a rally. It was called the Strike for Collective Justice, and that happened down there at City Hall. And it was actually a few different events that came together in one. But basically, you had some representatives of labor, some people for environmental justice, for youth justice, and I mean a lot of different causes, and they all came together down there at City Hall. We can play that clip.
So I'm Kirsten Harris Talley, she, her pronouns.
And Kirsten, you are running for the 37th district, is that correct?
I am. So I'm running for state representative, 37th district in position 2. So there's 2 positions, and I'm running for the second one, which right now is the open seat.
Great. What brought you out to this rally today?
Today it was really about the intersection of climate justice and housing justice. I think too often folks think climate justice is just about our waterways and not about everyday people. And the way we think about housing, we're going to have to keep reimagining what it is to keep people housed as we build climate resiliency. And a big issue for me is how we build affordable housing at the scale we need, particularly for Black, Brown, and Indigenous people, because the 37th district is the most diverse district in the state. And unfortunately, the legacy of why that is redlining. The brilliance of why that is that all of these oppressed communities found in that, right, the resilience to build up their communities, to failed businesses, to have elders who have been part of that. And I don't want to see any more elders leave our communities, and I don't want to see any more barriers to the young people who are coming up now and being able to join our communities. So the only way for us to do that work together is to create affordability in housing so that our neighbors can be together and be at the center of where their lives are.
All right, so we actually passed by there yesterday for part of that rally. Big shout out to our producer, photojournalist Jake, Big Jake, for capturing the interview and the footage yesterday. So the next thing up that we have here is that, and we just talked about earlier, man. You know, these murders of young black youth, mostly men. And in that sense, where Donita Sinclair, the mother of Lorenzo Anderson, who was murdered here in the CHOP on the early morning of June 20th, she's filed a wrongful death lawsuit. You can go ahead and put that up. A wrongful death lawsuit against the city of Seattle. We'll keep this up here for a second. And this is thanks to the Seattle Times. Oh, okay. They got the sticker right there. This thanks to the Seattle Times. I mean, and basically what they're alleging here in this lawsuit is that city officials created a dangerous environment by allowing protesters to occupy 6 city blocks, and that police and fire officials failed to protect or medically assist her son. And so this is very interesting. You can bring it down now. This is very interesting right here, this conversation, because, you know, I mean, there really is a very big argument that's out there in the city saying, like, who was the city negotiating with? You know, like who created these boundaries and borders that the city agreed to? Who, you know, I mean, it's going to be, I don't dare to say that I have the legal understanding of all of these kind of things, but in talking to people on the street level, I think that a lot of lawsuits are going to come out of what occurred this summer. And, you know, some of the most notable things are, of course, these deaths that have occurred. But there's so many other things that happen. And then if people talk about property damage, people talk about loss of income, if people talking, you know what I'm saying, there's the different lawsuits that are coming from people who didn't have anything to do with the protest, but they were tear gassed and, you know, some of everything else. But fundamentally, you know, a big conversation around this is like, who was the city negotiating with that the city would even be like, you know, hey, there are boundaries, this is our go zone, no-go zone, or whatever. And I think a lot of those answers are going to come out as soon as these lawsuits make their way through court. And we all know lawsuits take time, but the lawsuits are started. And so, you know, I'm going to try to catch up with Donita and get some of her thoughts in regards to this suit. Hopefully we'll talk to her in the next few days. Let's go on down here to the occupation of NAAM. And I was actually at the Northwest African American Museum. You can go ahead and play it. I was at the Northwest African American Museum this morning. Wanted to check back in and kind of see like what was going on out there. And it's, you know, they're still occupying the front, and the space is growing. There's the art area out there now, you know what I'm saying, and everything else. Governor Inslee looks like, you know, is taking a step back, and so we don't, you know, who knows when like museums will open up again. But what they're saying is when the museum does open up again, they'll still be there. And I mean, we brought you this story about Omari Tahir, I think about a week ago, and the occupation over there of the Coleman building. That's a building that was also occupied by Omari Tahir decades ago, and really their beef is the they don't feel that Northwest African American Museum is really a museum, and they feel that it doesn't really provide a service. And, you know, they got a long list of grievances. So basically, they're occupying, and they want to take over the Northwest African American Museum and put in their own museum. That's the long and short of it. But you know what I'm saying. So they're still there. Checked in with them. We're going to call it a day. Like I said, I know we're wrapping the show a bit early today. It's, Yeah, it's been difficult here on the set. And like I said, as you can imagine, and you see I'm here by myself. Trae ended up, leaving the show. Well, going home. Like I said, she had just kind of heard the news a few minutes before we went on air that, that was one of her relatives who was murdered last night. And we're going to stay on this story. Like I said, ConvergeMedia is based in the Central District. That's where we're from. And that's where a lot of our relationships and life experiences come from, is in our community. And so, there's already in 2020 and 2019 and 2018, on and on, there's been so many young black men, lives cut short through gun violence. And like I said, as we can continue to report on protests about the value of black life, we cannot take our eyes off the ball in our own community, the Central District and South End. Want to remind everybody, like I say, you can follow us on Twitch, on Twitter, and also our website, where we converge. Also want to thank everybody who's donated to our cause here. I hope you can see that we continually try to bring you a better product. And everything else, you can go to our website now. If you haven't had a chance to donate or anything like that, you can go there. You can check that out too. So there was a lot of messages you guys are trying to give me. I'm just trying to get off the air, bro. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, time to stand up, and we'll catch you guys. I'm gonna go and try to find Charleena, give her a hug, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.
Sing, dealer than heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun of a new day. On till victory is won. Sing it again now. Whoa. The victory